All right, you guys, just wanted to make a video about the Lowrider ST. Since this motorcycle is going to be dropping very soon, I kind of wanted to discuss some of the things that I seen on this motorcycle in person. I got to actually walk around the bike, look at it, talk to people about it in Daytona. Now, this was the most exciting bike that came out in 2022 for me. I have been doing some heavy consideration about whether or not I should trade my motorcycle in on this one. So the first thing I wanted to cover was the performance aspect of this motorcycle. It does have the dual disc front brakes on it, which are amazing because this 117 is producing a lot of power, so therefore you are going to need a lot of stopping power. It's got the 117 engine, which was previously only available on the CVO models, which is a huge upgrade, especially on a bike this light. They did raise the rear suspension approximately about an inch. The new suspension has about an inch more travel and height over the 2021 and the 2020 Lowrider S. It has the hard saddlebags, which are amazing. The color match on these bikes is great. The one thing that I do want to mention about these bags, I think I've mentioned it before, is that the saddlebags are not the same size. The right-hand side is shorter to accommodate for the exhaust, but as we all know, as Harley-Davidson owners, you are going to change this exhaust, whether it's slip-ons, a 2-in-1 system, whatever exhaust modification you choose to do to this bike, you are going to have an offset there on the bags. I don't know if I like it. To me, I would have rather had both sides with the shorter bags. You can see this is the full-size bag on the left-hand side. The right-hand side is the shorter of the two. I would much rather prefer both of these bags to be the shorter ones and to be more symmetrical. Also, they got rid of the gauge cluster. The instrument panel gauge cluster is no longer in the middle of the bike, which I don't know if I like or not. I do like that it is up here and it's easier to see, but I like the nostalgic look of having it on the tank. Goes back, it's a tilt of the hat to the older style, the first lowriders that came out that had your tacky and your speedo both on the tank. I like that style. They did remove the fake fuel cap on the left hand side. It's only on the right hand side now. So two kind of aesthetics that I don't really like is the gas cap only being on the right hand side and the right hand bag being shorter. So it kind of draws my eye to the right hand side of the bike a little bit more. Now, with that being said, they cleared up this whole center line of the tank, but they didn't put the fuel cap in the center. I just think that it would have looked better if the fuel cap was in the center of the tank. Now, a lot of people were telling me it's because when your bike is on the kickstand, it's leaning at a different degree to the left-hand side, so you could fill up and get more fuel in it when the fuel cap is on the right-hand side. To me, that's kind of not even worth discussing, since if you've been on one of these bikes, when you put down the kickstand, there's maybe a 1 degree angle, lean angle to the motorcycle. Now, my Lowrider S had almost no lean angle when it was on the kickstand, and once I put that rear shock on the back, it lifted it up about 3 to 3.5 inches, and now I actually have like a 3% lean angle on the bike. Makes me feel a little more comfortable, and the suspension I added is day and night difference over the stock one. So getting back to this bike, the front fairing is the most noticeable of the upgrades. Now, to me, I don't really like it. I like it, but I don't love it. I don't like how it flares out down on the bottom. I don't like how it flares out up top. Now, I know that the Harley Davidson designers did that on purpose with this little flare where, it's kind of covering your hands a little bit. That is not the actual reason. The actual reason is that in the back side of that fairing where it flares out, there is an optional audio upgrade that you can do to this bike. So for about $1,000 extra, I don't know if that covers the labor and installation. I do know it's $1,000 though from the dealership to add the audio. So it may be even more to have it installed with labor and all that. So another big downside to this bike, from what I've been hearing, at least from the people out on the West Coast, is the price. So the MSRP on Harley's website for the Vivid Black is $21,700. So that's not a bad price for this bike. I think you are getting a lot of performance out of this bike. You're getting a lot of upgrades. You're getting a lot of power out of this bike. You're getting the inverted front suspension, the dual disc, the front fairing, the hard bags. You're getting the stage 1 air intake. Of course, you're going to have to upgrade your exhaust. You're probably going to get the bike tuned after that. Even though Harley Davidson did say that the bike is calibrated for a 10% performance increase, so you can do slip-ons without having to tune the bike. Either way, you're probably going to do a 2-in-1. If you're buying this bike, you are definitely more of a performance-oriented rider. This is a performance lineup bike. Now, one thing that I don't like for this price point, for $21,700, close to $22,000 before tax and title, you're getting no passenger peg, and you are getting a one-up seat, and you are getting a saddlebag that is trimmed on one side and longer on the other. So, I mean, there were a couple things that I was looking at that would get these bikes kind of in the same performance or give you more performance for a lower price, because the guys out west are saying that these bikes are going for $10,000 over the MSRP. So if you take that into consideration, they're selling these bikes for around $30,000 first come, first serve basis, because there's only going to be a limited amount of them made. Now, don't get me wrong, I am super excited for this bike. I think Harley is going in the right direction, and I think they are going to sell hundreds of thousands of these bikes in the next couple years. But my honest review of this bike is a little less than what I would have preferred from them. I just want to bring your attention to a couple things over here on the 2022 Street Bob. So the 2022 Street Bob is a nice looking motorcycle. I can't say anything bad about it. It's a very high performing motorcycle. You're getting the 114 engine. You are getting the taller handlebars. You are now getting the upgraded mag rims. The one thing that I do like a lot about this, well, there's a couple things I like a lot about this bike, but the first thing is it comes with your passenger pegs and it comes with the pillion seat. So right out of the dealership, you are able to ride 2 up. Also, another thing that I like that a lot of people are not going to like is these handlebars. So I don't actually like the handlebars. I like the fact that they put an ape style handlebar on here because it has elongated cables. So right out of the bat, the first thing I would do if I bought this bike, I would take these bars off. I would buy myself some 6-inch boosted brads or some 6-inch Thrashin risers, and I would throw a drag bar on. You wouldn't have to extend your cables. You will be fine there, and you will get that performance kind of club style T-bar look out of the bike. The only thing that I don't like about this bike, I'll tell you a couple cons here. The front suspension and the single disc front brake. So this 114 puts out a tremendous amount of power, and you only have a single disc up front to stop you. I would have liked to have seen a dual disc front brake on this bike. So I guess it's kind of a pro and a con with this front end because it's getting you in at that lower price point. So these bikes are coming in at $15,300 for the Vivid Black. And the Vivid Black has that two-tone kind of looking tank where you're getting some color on the bike. It's a very nice orange color. These bikes look beautiful if you see them on the showroom floor. So that front suspension is not a deal breaker for me because you can throw in like a drop-in Legend cartridge kit. You could throw in a drop-in Progressive cartridge in there. You're going to increase your performance light years ahead of the factory suspension. So to me, I just wanted to take a brief look at this and see what you're actually getting for the price. So they want $21,700, almost $22,000 for the Lowrider ST. If you come over here and buy one of these bikes, you could do the handlebars for about $700. Didn't have to switch any of your cables. You throw a 2-in-1 exhaust on this bike, throw a K&N air filter on this bike, throw a cam in this bike. So from Harley, you can buy a power or a torque cam, the Screaming Eagle cams, directly from the dealership. You could have them install it for you. It's about $500 for the kit. It's going to give you the push rods. It's going to give you the cam. I would recommend the S&S Billet aluminum lifter cuffs. So that way you get rid of that plastic one and it'll save you later on down the road. That's about $60. Throw a Saddleman seat on here. Throw some Thrash and Escape bags on here. And get the Dominator FXRT fairing for the front of this bike. I'm telling you, you will be less than $22,000 into this bike and you will outperform the 117. You will have the front fairing. You will have the Thrash and Escape bags, which I think for the money are the best bags on the market. I like them better than the Leather Pros. That's just me, personal preference. But honestly, for what you are getting, if you upgrade this bike, you'll destroy a 117 off of the showroom floor. If you throw a cam in this bike, put a 2-in-1 on it, do the air cleaner, switch that dry filter out, and get a K&N high flow air filter on there. The only downside I could see is the single disc front brake. But honestly, you would be in it less than the Lowrider ST. You would have the center fill gas tank. So I mean, to me, it's just something to think about. If you're going to get into the ST, you could build a Street Bob into an ST for less money than what you're going to pay for the ST. So these people talking about spending $30,000 on an ST, I just couldn't justify that. There's nothing in me that would be able to justify spending $30,000, $10,000 over the MSRP, other than just to say that you're the first person to have it. The fact that they're charging you $1,000 extra for the sound system. Now, if this bike came with small saddlebags on both sides, color matched, with the sound system, I would buy this bike all day for the 22 grand. I think that it would be a great deal, and I would trade my bike in tomorrow for it. But the deal breaker for me is that it doesn't come with that from the factory. It doesn't come with any, passenger pegs. It doesn't come with a 2-up seat. The bags are different sizes. So, I mean, if that's not a deal breaker for you and you just want to be the first person to get this bike, that's cool. Iron Anchor Motorcycle Shop out of New York did their own version of this bike. They did a 2021 Lowrider S with a Dominator fairing, and they put the Tour Glide hard bags on it, which also I want to bring to your attention if you are looking at this bike. These saddle bags are about 1 inch to 2 inches higher than this fender. If you had the Sport Glide, that Sport Glide that they discontinued, those bags were actually flush mounted with the rear fender, and I think they looked a lot better. They looked a lot better on that bike. So I mean, Iron Anchors did more of a flush mounted saddlebag on theirs. They also did the front fairing, and the bike is gorgeous, and I'm pretty sure they came in less than what they are selling these for. Also, another thing to think about is if you are going to drop this kind of money, if you are out west and they're charging you $10,000 over the MSRP on this bike, why wouldn't you just come over here and grab the Road Glide ST? The Road Glide ST is going to have the 117 cubic inch engine, tons of performance on this bike. It's giving you the audio. It's giving you bags that are actually the same size. They're a little bit shorter. It's giving you tons more for $30,000. If you're going to spend that on the ST, I'd just highly recommend you look at the Road Glide ST instead of the Lowrider ST. I think that you would be better served in that regard, unless that's exactly what you want. But I mean, honestly, guys, if that's what you're looking for and they're trying to charge you 10 grand over the MSRP, I would probably personally wait a year and then go get it. First of all, if you wait a year, you're going to get the brand new version. You'll get a 2023. You'll get it at a more reasonable price, because the people that are getting this bike off the factory floor, the 2022, are going to be paying over MSRP. So just something to think about. Also, when it came to the gauge cluster on the Lowrider S, you are getting this, looks like a Sportster S kind of gauge on here, which I really like this gauge a lot more than that Street Bob style gauge. This one is giving you a digital readout on the bottom as well as an analog up top. I like the analog look. I feel like I'm just so used to that, and I like to see that needle move. I mean, just personally, myself, I like to watch that needle move. I like to watch it bounce off the RPMs of the rev limiter and just bounce. Dude, just aesthetically for me, I like that analog gauge. So also with these new 2022 lowriders, they claim to have a 1 inch more travel monoshock in the rear. Looking at this, I can't really tell. My 2020 looked exactly identical to this. So I went and I put an aftermarket rear shock on. I put the RWD on there. I can actually make my adjustments without taking the seat off. And I can slide my hand under the tire, in between the fender and the tire, without touching either. So it gave me about a 3-inch lift in the rear of the bike. It gave me 3 inches of added travel. And when you actually ride the bike now, the improvement on it is day and night. I think it's absolutely amazing for what I paid for it. You're not going to get any better quality of rear suspension than RWD. It's about as premium as you're going to get. Now, I don't know if I like these air cleaners. I don't know if I like the forward-facing ones. I know that me personally, I rest my knee against mine, and from what I've heard, that this will wear into your knee, and it's a very unpleasant feeling. I'll let you guys know more as I test ride these new bikes, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of my 2 cents on it. And for the prices that I'm hearing that they're selling the Lowrider ST for out west, I just really think that you would be better served by getting yourself on a Street Bob, and you can upgrade the engine on that Street Bob for far less money. You can make that 114 scream a lot better than that 117. So it's just something to think about. I mean, you could take this bike right here and you could transform it into an ST for less money than you are going to pay for the ST. You might even be able to get this bike built with a front fairing, a Dominator fairing, 2-in-1 exhaust, throw the torque cam in this bike, do a tune on it and throw some thrashing saddlebags on it and put some kind of audio system on it, and you will probably still come in under the $22,000 that they are charging for the lowrider ST. So just something to think about. If you guys have one of the lowrider STs, if you've been on one of the lowrider STs, please let me know. Drop a comment down below. If I do see you guys out on the road and you have a lowrider ST, I am going to stop you and ask you questions about it. I am going to want your honest opinion on it. I'm going to want to know how you like the bike, how it performs, what you think could have been done better. And then I'm also going to ask you what you paid for it. If you don't want to tell me, that's cool. But I just want to make sure that what is going on out there is accurate. What I'm being told is accurate. And I mean, honestly, guys, if I could get this bike for close to what I paid for mine, which is never going to happen since my 2020 Lowrider S came in pretty close to the 2022 Street Bob pricing. So I think that in my best interest, I'm just going to build my bike up, and I will make one of these like the Iron Anchor Cycles one if I decide to put that front fairing on, because I'm not sold on the front fairing yet. I might just buy a bagger. So you guys stay tuned and see what I do. I'm either going to buy a bagger or I'm going to start transforming my Lowrider S into a bagger. All right. Once again, thank you guys for watching this.